The envelope hit the tiled floor like a gunshot, its crisp edges slicing through the humid Spanish air. "You're throwing your life away for some girl?" My father's voice cracked, venom dripping from words he'd bottled up for years. I didn't cry, not then, but Luna's hand in mine felt like the only anchor in a storm that had been brewing since the day I came out. That was the night everything shattered, or maybe it was the night it finally started to mend. We were in our family's sprawling villa on the outskirts of Seville, where the orange groves stretched like golden promises under the relentless Andalusian sun. The house had been my grandparents' escape from post-war America, a place where Dad could pretend his engineering degree from MIT meant he belonged to old European money. But it was all facade, crumbling stucco walls hiding the rot of unspoken prejudices. I was 18, fresh out of high school in a sleepy American expat enclave called Los Americanos, where kids like me navigated bilingual classrooms and the awkward thrill of first loves under the shadow of the Sierra Norte mountains. My name is Luna Reyes, and for as long as I could remember, I'd been the black sheep in a flock of one perfect sibling. Lucy, my older sister by 3 years, was the golden child. Straight-A valedictorian, debate team captain, the one who could charm her way into any Ivy League admissions office. She had our mother's porcelain skin and our father's easy laugh, the kind that made professors linger after class. Me? I had the wild curls that frizzed in the humidity, the olive tone from Mom's Mexican heritage that Dad always joked made me look too exotic for polite society, and a heart that beat a little too fiercely for the girls who passed me notes in the back of Señorita Vargas's Spanish Lit class. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told myself. Lucy was packing for her freshman year at Stanford, full ride, courtesy of Mom and Dad's savings scraped from Dad's consulting gigs and Mom's part-time translation work. The living room was a whirlwind of suitcases and tissue paper, the air thick with the scent of jasmine from the courtyard fountain. I hovered on the periphery, my own acceptance letter from the University of Seville tucked into my back pocket like a guilty secret. I'd applied on a whim, drawn by the promise of art history programs that whispered of Frida Kahlo's unapologetic queerness and the hidden queer histories woven into Spain's tapestry. "You're really staying here?" Lucy asked, pausing mid-fold on a cashmere sweater. Her blue eyes, mirror images of Mom's, flicked over me with that mix of pity and superiority she wielded like a well-honed blade. "Seville's great for tourists, but college? You'll end up waitressing in some tapas bar, chasing ghosts." I forced a laugh, but it lodged in my throat. "It's not chasing ghosts. It's home. And the tuition's half what Stanford costs. I can figure it out." She shrugged, zipping her bag with finality. "Suit yourself. Just don't come crying when the scholarship fairy doesn't sprinkle her dust on you." That night, after Lucy's tearful airport send-off, hugs all around, Dad slipping her an extra $1,000 in traveler's checks, I sat on the villa's rooftop terrace, the city lights twinkling like distant fireflies. The air was cooler up there, carrying whispers of the Guadalquivir River, and the faint strum of flamenco guitars from a nearby taberna. That's when I met her. Or rather, when she met me. "Luna Reyes?" As in, the Reyes who own half the olive presses in the province. A voice smooth as aged sherry cut through the darkness. I turned and there she was, leaning against the wrought iron railing, a silhouette etched in moonlight. Her hair fell in loose waves, catching the glow like burnished copper, and her eyes, hazel flecked with gold, held a curiosity that made my pulse stutter. I blinked, heat rising to my cheeks. "That's my family? Sort of. And you are. Call me Alex." She extended a hand, her grip firm and calloused, like someone who spent mornings sketching in the fields rather than typing reports. "Short for Alejandra. I'm an exchange student from California. UCLA art program. Heard about this rooftop party from some locals. Didn't expect to find a poet brooding alone." I snorted, self-conscious in my faded Levi's and a threadbare Ramones tee. "Poet? Hardly. Just avoiding the family drama downstairs." She tilted her head, that gaze pulling me in like gravity. "Drama's the best muse. Tell me about it." We talked until the stars wheeled overhead, about her escape from a conservative ranch in the Central Valley, the way she'd hidden her sketches of women warriors in her Bible during youth group, about my sketches of Seville's hidden plazas, the ones where lovers met under Moorish arches. By dawn we'd shared a stolen cigarette and a brush of fingers that lingered too long. When she left, pressing her number into my palm on a torn sketchbook page, I knew. This was the spark I'd been waiting for. Over the next months, Alex became my compass. We'd wander the Alcazar gardens at twilight, her laughter echoing off the tiled fountains as she sketched my profile against the pomegranate trees. "You're fierce, Luna," she'd say, her breath warm against my ear during late-night bike rides through Triana's cobbled streets. Like Goya's Duchess, untamed, unbreakable. Our first kiss happened under a canopy of bougainvillea in the Maria Luisa Park, tentative and electric, tasting of churros and unspoken fears. It wasn't fireworks, it was a quiet unraveling, the kind that stitches souls together thread by thread. But home was a different beast. Mom and Dad's pride in Lucy's quarterly care packages, photos of Palo Alto quad life, A's in her econ classes, cast long shadows over our dinner table. I'd mention Alex in passing, a study buddy, helping with my portfolio for the university application. Dad's fork would pause mid-air, his jaw tightening. "A girl? Well, as long as she's not filling your head with nonsense. Focus on your grades, Luna. We can't afford 2 tuition disasters." Mom would chime in, her voice soft but laced with steel. "Lucy's setting an example. Don't squander your chances on distractions." The first real crack came during Semana Santa, the Holy Week processions that turned Seville into a sea of hooded penitents and flickering candles. Alex and I slipped away to a quiet hermitage on the outskirts, sharing whispers and warmth amid the incense haze. When I got home late, reeking of smoke and secrets, Dad was waiting in the foyer, arms crossed like a sentinel. "Where the hell have you been?" His voice was low, thunderous. "Out with that friend again? Parading around like it's normal." "It's not parading," I shot back, heart hammering. "Alex is important to me. We're together." The word hung there, heavy as the cathedral bells tolling midnight. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs, her robe clutched tight. "Luna, mi hija, this phase, it's the city, the freedom. You'll grow out of it. Like Lucy did with that boy in high school." "It's not a phase." The shout tore from me, raw and ragged. "I love her. And you love Lucy enough to bankroll her dreams. Why can't you even try to understand mine?" Dad's face twisted, a storm cloud over the Mediterranean. "Because Lucy's future is secure. A real career, a family someday. You? Throwing it away for this deviance. We won't fund some Spanish art school folly while you play house with a girl." The envelope, that damn acceptance packet from the University of Seville, slipped from my fingers then, scattering across the terracotta floor. Devastation hit like a rogue wave, but beneath it, an ember of resolve flickered. I wouldn't beg. Not for their money, not for their approval. I'd carve my own path, even if it meant scraping by on part-time gigs at the local mercado, selling my sketches to tourists for pocket change. Alex held me that night on her tiny piso in the Barrio Santa Cruz, the walls papered with her charcoal nudes. Strong women, defiant and alive. "They're wrong, Luna," she murmured, tracing circles on my back. "Your fire? It's not a flaw. It's your superpower." In her arms I found a fragile piece, the kind that blooms in cracked soil. We dreamed aloud of shared studios in Madrid, gallery shows where our hands intertwined without shame. Love, in those stolen hours, felt like rebellion wrapped in tenderness, a quiet revolution against the world's unyielding edges. Summer unfurled like a reluctant bloom, the heat pressing down on Seville's labyrinthine alleys. Lucy called from California, her voice crackling over the line with excitement about her summer internship at a Silicon Valley startup. "Dad's wiring the funds next week. Rent, books, the works. You should apply for that scholarship, Lou. The one for underrepresented artists?" I saw it on the alumni board. I hummed noncommittally, staring at the faded postcard of the Giralda Tower on my wall. Unrepresented? Try invisible. The application loomed like a mountain, essays on identity and resilience that forced me to dissect the very wounds my parents had inflicted. But Alex believed, oh, how she believed. We'd hole up in the Prado on weekends, her from her exchange program, me tagging along with forged guest passes, losing ourselves in Velasquez's gazes that saw too much. "You're a storyteller, Luna," she'd say, pulling me close in the echoing halls. "Not just with words, with light, with shadow. That's why you'll win it." I submitted the application on a whim, the night before the deadline, fueled by cheap Rioja and her unwavering faith. The prompt: defy the expected. My essay poured out like confession, growing up in the hyphen between American dreams and Spanish roots, loving a woman in a house that revered only straight lines. I wrote of Lucy's pedestal in my shadowed corner, the ache of conditional love, the spark Alex had ignited. It was raw, unpolished, but true. Weeks blurred into a haze of flamenco lessons and midnight confessions. Alex's visa was expiring soon. She'd have to return to UCLA unless we could swing a deferral. "Come with me," she pleaded one evening, as we picnicked on the riverbank, the water lapping like hesitant applause. "We could sublet a place in Oakland, your art, my program. Make our own world." The idea terrified and thrilled me. Leave Seville's sun-baked embrace for California's fog? Betray the soil that had shaped me? But her eyes, pleading and fierce, made it feel possible. "I want to," I whispered, our foreheads touching. "More than anything." Then the letter came. It was a Thursday, the kind where the Sirocco wind whipped dust devils through the groves. I was in the kitchen chopping tomatoes for gazpacho when the post slid under the door. A thick cream envelope stamped with the university seal. My hand shook as I tore it open, the words blurring. Full merit scholarship. $100,000 over 4 years. For exceptional resilience and artistic vision. A laugh bubbled up, disbelieving, joyous. I clutched it like a talisman, racing to the courtyard where Mom and Dad lounged with their afternoon vermouth, oblivious to the earthquake about to hit. "You won't believe this," I gasped, waving the letter. "I got it, the scholarship. Full ride. Everything." Dad peered over his glasses, skepticism etching lines deeper. "What scholarship?" "We told you, Luna, we're tapped out after Lucy's." His words died as he snatched the paper, Mom crowding in behind. The courtyard fell silent save for the trickle of the fountain, the distant coo of doves. $100,000? Mom breathed, her hand fluttering to her throat. "But how? You're not even." "Even what?" My voice sharpened, the old hurt flaring. "Good enough? Straight enough? Like Lucy." Alex arrived then, unannounced, her bike clattering against the gate. She'd sensed my premonition, or maybe it was just her artist's intuition. She took one look at the tableau, me rigid, parents frozen, and stepped forward, slipping an arm around my waist. "Luna's brilliant," she said simply, her California lilt cutting the tension like a cool breeze. "This is what brilliance earns." Dad's face cycled through shock, then something uglier, disdain twisting toward Alex. "And you encouraging this?" Filling her head with delusions while we foot the bill for real futures. Delusions. Alex's grip tightened, protective. "You mean love? The kind you've poured into Lucy but withheld from your own daughter." Mom recoiled as if slapped, but Dad surged to his feet, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. "Get out. Both of you. This house, this family doesn't bend to your perversion." The word landed like a slap, echoing the envelope's earlier fall. Betrayal burned hot in my chest. Not just his, but the years of sidelong glances, the jokes at family barbecues about my tomboy phase. Lucy's shadow had always loomed, but now it crushed. I thought of her last email. "Proud of you, sis. Make Dad eat his words." If only she knew how deep they cut. But I didn't shatter. Not with Alex's hand in mine, her thumb tracing steady rhythms on my skin. "We're leaving," I said, voice even, the scholarship letter folded neatly into my pocket. "Not because you say so, but because we deserve better." We walked out into the dying light, the villa's gates clanging shut behind us, a sound like finality or perhaps freedom. Seville unfolded before us, its spires piercing the sky like defiant fingers. That night, in Alex's cramped apartment, we didn't cry or rage. We planned. Her visa extension, my enrollment, a tiny flat in the Macarena district where sunlight pooled on our drafting tables. Word traveled fast in expat circles. Lucy Skyped from her dorm, eyes wide. "Holy shit, Luna. $100,000? And Dad's meltdown?" I confronted him. He admitted it. Said he was protecting you. From what? Happiness. I laughed, the sound lighter now. From mirrors, maybe. Seeing his own fears reflected back. She paused, vulnerability cracking her polish. I should have spoken up sooner. Pushed back. "You're braver than me, you know that." In the end, the scholarship wasn't just money. It was absolution. A bridge over the chasm my parents had dug. They called a week later, Mom's voice trembling with apology. "We were wrong, Mija. Come home. Let's try." Dad grumbled in the background, but there was a softening, a crack in the armor. We did go back, not as supplicants but as equals. Dinner that night was awkward. Forks clinking too loudly, silences stretching like taffy. But when Alex passed the bread and Dad didn't flinch, I saw it. The first green shoot of understanding. Human frailty, after all, bends toward light if you give it time. Luna and Alex's story didn't end in Seville's embrace. It spilled over borders, into canvases and critiques, into a life woven from mutual forgiveness. Love, it turned out, wasn't the rebellion I'd feared. It was the quiet revolution that remade us all. The university's welcome orientation was a kaleidoscope of accents and ambitions, held in the grand hall of the Reals Alcazars where history seeped from every archway. I clutched Alex's hand as we navigated clusters of wide-eyed freshmen, Spaniards with gelled hair and Americans fumbling with their URail passes, my scholarship pin gleaming like a badge of hard-won survival. "This is us now," I whispered to her, the weight of the villa's rejection lifting with each step. "No more hiding." She squeezed back, her hazel eyes sparkling under the vaulted ceilings. "Our empire starts here, mi artista." Classes blurred into a rhythm of charcoal dust and late-night debates. Modernism's fractured forms mirroring my own splintered family ties. Renaissance nudes challenging the prudish gazes I'd grown up under. Alex audited my lectures when her schedule allowed, her presence a steady hum in the back row. We'd debrief over café con leche at the bustling Plaza de España, her sketches of me evolving from tentative lines to bold, unapologetic strokes, capturing the curve of my jaw, the fire in my gaze that no parental scorn could dim. But peace, like Seville's fleeting rains, was temporary. Lucy's Thanksgiving video call brought the storm clouds rolling in. She was home for the holiday, flying first class on Dad's dime. Her face flushed from Palo Alto's crisp autumn air. "Luna, brace yourself. Mom and Dad are planning an intervention. For you. And Alex." My stomach dropped, the steam from my espresso curling like smoke signals.
Intervention?
"What, like we're addicts? To love?" She winced, pixelating slightly. "It's Dad's idea. Some family counselor from the expat church group. They think if they pray it away or whatever, you'll snap out of it." I tried talking sense into them, told them about your scholarship, how you're killing it, but Mom's convinced it's a rebellious phase amplified by Spain's loose morals. Rage simmered low, familiar as the Guadalquivir's undercurrent. I'd hoped the letter's triumph would buy time a truce. Instead, it had ignited their denial into full blaze. "They're unbelievable," I muttered, Alex's arm sliding around my shoulders in silent solidarity. "Lucy's the one jet-setting across oceans, and I'm the problem for staying put and loving who I love?" Lucy leaned closer to the camera, her voice dropping to conspiracy. "Fight it, sis. Or don't. Show them you're not their project. And hey, if you need backup, I'll fly down. Skip the turkey for tapas." Her offer hung there, a lifeline from the pedestal I'd always resented. For the first time, Lucy wasn't the rival. She was the ally I'd overlooked. "Thanks," I said, meaning it. "But this one's on me." The intervention was scheduled for the Villa Solarium the following weekend, a sunroom I'd once filled with wildflower presses, now commandeered for their crusade. I arrived with Alex, uninvited but unyielding, our hands linked like a gauntlet thrown. The air was thick with potpourri and pretense. Mom in her pearl necklace, Dad in his pressed chinos, and a bespectacled man named Father Elias, his Bible dog-eared and demeanor oily as olive oil. "Luna dear," Mom began, patting the wicker sofa beside her. "We've missed you. Sit. Let's talk." I perched on the edge, Alex beside me like a shield. "Talk? Or preach?" Dad cleared his throat, launching into script. "This lifestyle you've chosen, it's not God's plan. Father Elias here specializes in guiding youth back to the light. Lucy turned out fine because she listened. We want the same for you." Alex stiffened, her artist's fingers digging into my knee. "Chosen? Like picking a major? Love isn't a detour, Mr. Reyes. It's the destination." Father Elias interjected, his smile paternal poison. "Young lady, compassion is key, but truth more so. Studies show Studies. I interrupted, the scholarship's fire fueling my spine. Like the ones funding my $100,000 ride? The ones that value my lifestyle as innovative perspective? Or the ones Lucy sends from Stanford, where diversity quotas got her that internship? Dad's face reddened, the vein in his temple pulsing. Don't throw money in our faces. We sacrifice for Lucy's security. A husband, kids, stability. You could have that too if you just... Stop. Mom's voice cracked, surprising us all. She wrung her hands, tears glistening. Enrique, enough. Luna's not Lucy. And this girl, Alex, she makes her happy. I see it. Why can't we? The room hung in suspended animation. Father Elias shifting uncomfortably. Dad deflated, shoulders slumping like a punctured tire. Because, what if it's a mistake? What if the world breaks her? It was the closest he'd come to vulnerability, a crack in the patriarchal facade. Alex spoke then, her voice steady as a sonnet. The world breaks us all, sir. But love? It mends. Let her choose her own repairs. We left that afternoon without resolution, but the air felt lighter, less confrontation, more conversations, embers. Mom hugged me at the door, whispering, I'm trying, Mija. For you. Dad nodded curtly, but his eyes held a flicker. Not acceptance but curiosity. The seed was planted. Winter descended on Seville with uncharacteristic chill. The Giralda Tower dusted in rare frost. Alex and I threw ourselves into midterms, our lives intertwining like the city's Moorish arabesques. She'd started a mural project for the university's LGBTQ affinity group, a sprawling tapestry of intertwined hands against a backdrop of rainbow-threaded flamenco skirts. It's us, she explained, paint smudged on her cheek as we worked late. Hidden stories, bold colors. Defying the fade. I contributed sketches of fractured families mending, inspired by Lucy's emails, her confessions of imposter syndrome at Stanford, the loneliness of being the perfect one. You're my mirror, Luna, she'd written, showing me the costs of their pedestal. One evening as snow flurries danced improbably over the Plaza de Toros, betrayal slithered in unannounced. I was at the villa, helping Mom catalog old family photos for a digital archive, a tentative olive branch. Rifling through yellowed albums, I found it. A letter, tucked into the back of Dad's engineering notebook from '95. Postmarked from San Francisco, addressed to my dearest E. The handwriting was elegant, looping. Enrique, our nights in the Castro were a dream I can't wake from. But your fiancé, the life you're building. I understand. Be happy. Love always, Marco. My world tilted. Dad's staunch sermon-spouting dad had a past? A lover? A man? The pieces clicked. His overzealous homophobia, the villa's isolation as if fleeing ghosts, the way he'd overcompensate with Lucy's normalcy. Mom walked in then, catching my stunned silence. Luna? What's oh? She saw the letter, color draining from her face. He told me years ago, before you girls broke him choosing this life. That's why he's so afraid for you. Sees his own regrets in your courage. Betrayal twisted anew, not just his hypocrisy, but the lie they'd both lived, shielding us from truth under the guise of protection. He mocked me for the same secret he buried. I whispered, letter trembling in my grip. How do I face him? Mom's eyes welled, her hand covering mine. With grace, Mija. The kind you give Alex. The kind I wish I'd given him sooner. I confronted Dad that night in the courtyard. The fountains murmur a soft confessor. He didn't deny it, sat heavy on the bench, face etched with decades' weight. I loved him, Luna. Fiercely. But America in the 90s. AIDS shame. I ran to Spain, to your mother, to safety. Buried it deep. When you came out, it unearthed everything. I lashed out to keep the grave shut. Tears carved paths down his cheeks, unbidden. Forgiven, old fool? For fearing you'd suffer my silence. I knelt before him, the girl who'd once built sandcastles at his feet. Not silence, Dad. Stories. Share yours. Help me build mine. In that moment, under the stars' indifferent watch, forgiveness wasn't fireworks. It was a hearth's glow, warming the chill between us. We talked till dawn, of Marco's laugh, of hidden bars in Seville's underbelly, of the love that had shaped him as much as it now shaped me. Alex listened later, curled on our threadbare rug, her head in my lap. Your family's a mosaic, Luna. Cracks and all, it's beautiful. Spring brought renewal. Azahar blossoms perfuming the air. Lucy's surprise visit coinciding with my first gallery showing. She ditched a conference for the flight, arriving with suitcases stuffed with in-and-out contraband and a fierceness I'd never seen. Time to crash the party properly, she declared, linking arms with Alex as we strolled the exhibit. My series on hyphenated hearts, portraits of queer expats defying borders. Dad and Mom came too, awkward in their Sunday best but present. Dad even bought a print. Me and Alex, hands entwined against a fractured Alhambra skyline. It's powerful, he admitted gruffly, Mom beaming beside him. The climax came not in shouts but in quiet crescendo, at the vernissage's toast, when Lucy took the mic unscripted. To Luna, she said, voice steady amid the clinking glasses, who taught me that perfection's a cage. And to the loves that set us free. Tears flowed freely then, a cathartic rain. Dad pulled me aside later, his embrace rough but real. Proud of you, kid. More than words. Graduation dawned golden. The University of Seville's courtyard awash in mortarboards and marigold garlands. 4 years had etched themselves into my skin like fine-line tattoos. The scholarship steady pulse funding not just tuition but freedom. Study abroad in Berlin's queer art collectives. A thesis on Latina lesbian icons that earned murmurs of revolutionary from professors. Alex and I had co-authored a chapbook, Shadows in Sunlight, self-published on a shoestring, its pages selling out at local zine fests. Our love had weathered storms, her visa battles, my doubts in the quiet hours, but emerged tempered like steel kissed by fire. Lucy flew in again, this time with a +1. Her girlfriend, a soft-spoken environmental engineer named Priya, met during a campus climate rally. Surprise! Lucy grinned at the airport, Priya's hand shy in hers. Figured I'd return the favor, show up with my own plot twist. I hugged her, fierce laughter bubbling. About time you joined the rebellion. The ceremony was a blur of Latin honors and teary embraces, my name echoing off the ancient stones. Luna Reyes with distinction. Dad stood tallest in the crowd, camera flashing like he was paparazzi. Mom dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief. Father Elias, long banished to church bingo nights. In his place, a rainbow flag fluttered from the Reyes Villa's balcony, hoisted by Dad's own hands during Pride last June. Cheers rippled warm as the evening breeze. Lucy leaned in next, Priya's fingers laced with hers. And to family, not the blood kind but the chosen. Who knew my little sis would be the one schooling us on heart? Dad cleared his throat, standing with uncharacteristic poise. The table hushed, sensing the weight. Luna, he began, voice gravelly with emotion. I came to Spain chasing ghosts, built walls to keep the pain out. Hurt you in the process, mocked what I couldn't face. That letter? Your scholarship? It wasn't just ink on paper. It was a mirror forcing this old man to look. And what I saw, a daughter braver than I ever was. He paused, glancing at Mom, who nodded encouragement. Marco would have loved you. Fierce, unyielding. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm here now. Proud. Unconditionally. Tears pricked, but I blinked them back, rising to wrap him in a hug that smelled of aftershave and redemption. Took us both, Dad. But we're here. Mom chimed in, her toast lighter. To new chapters. And to Alex, thank you for loving my girl when I couldn't yet. The night dissolved into stories swapped like currency. Lucy recounting Priya's proposal under Stanford's palm trees, a ring forged from recycled ocean plastic. Alex unveiling her latest commission, a mural for the city's new LGBTQ center, featuring silhouetted figures dancing through olive groves. Dad even shared a snippet of Marco, a photo from the album, 2 young men grinning on a foggy San Francisco pier. He taught me joy before fear won, Dad said softly. You remind me of that, Luna. As the stars wheeled overhead, the group thinned. Priya and Lucy slipping off for a moonlit walk, Mom and Dad taxiing home with promises of Sunday brunch. Alex and I lingered, feet dangling over the Tabernas fountain, the water's ripple mirroring the Guadalquivir's distant song. You did it, she murmured, head on my shoulder. Not just the degree, the impossible. Rewrote their script. I traced her palm, the calluses from brushes and bikes, a map of our shared miles. We did. But what's next? Madrid? Back to California? The world's too big for just Seville. She turned, hazel eyes locking with my green. A gaze that had anchored me through betrayals and breakthroughs. Anywhere, as long as it's us. Galleries in New York, vineyards in Tuscany. Our story's not ending. It's expanding. We kissed then, slow and certain. The city's pulse thrumming approval. No drama's thunder, just romance's steady rain. Washing clean the old hurts. Nourishing the human core beneath. Months later, Lucy's wedding invitation arrived. Her and Priya's. A simple affair in Big Sur's cliffs. Waves crashing benediction. All of us, the note read. No pedestals, just paths intertwined. Dad RSVP'd yes, Mom planning the dress with fervor. Me? I was packing for our first joint exhibit in Barcelona. Canvases shipped like hopes. The scholarship had stunned them all right. Not with dollars but with truth's quiet thunder. In the end, it wasn't about winning. It was about weaving the frayed threads of family, love, and self into a tapestry resilient as Spain's eternal sun. We were flawed, fractured, but whole, lesbians, siblings, parents, lovers, dancing on the hyphen between worlds, claiming every light and shadow as our own. And in the quiet mornings with Alex's sketchpad open beside my coffee, I knew. This was the American dream transplanted and transformed, fears-free, forever unfolding.